Today, we're going to mess around with the OBSBOT Meet 2. Now, this is, of course, their current creation of that 4K web camera that you guys have come to love so much. Now, I actually have the space gray version of the OBSBOT Meet 2, and it's actually a nice size compact. If I put it next to the original, of course, you guys can see the size difference with this. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to magnetically connect this up to my monitor. We're going to connect it up. I'm going to walk you guys through the software, and I'm going to show you guys what this looks like first and foremost, raw plug and play. So if you guys give me a second, we're going to switch over. Now that we're switched over to the camera, you guys are not seeing it just yet. What we're going to do is we're going to pull up the OBSBOT software to actually activate this camera. The moment it loads, I'm going to actually move over the software to the side so you guys can actually see it. It says device asleep, and I'm going to click device and open it up, and I'm going to pull up that camera view. First and foremost, that is just plug and play. I haven't adjusted anything in the software. So you're seeing dual me. The one up in that corner, of course, up there is actually the Sony ZV-E10. The one in the center, which you guys are seeing right here, me in large, is the OBSBOT Meet 2. Now, of course, the original version is right here, but we're showing you guys this variation right there. Now, it has the software, so we do have software we can mess around with over here, which is kind of cool. I can actually zoom in. I can magnify if I really want to. I can actually do fine zooming or coarse zooming. We can do wide or narrow, whatever we really want, just right there, guys, right? Or I can hit reset and it will reset us all the way back to factory reset. Now it does have, of course, that tracking mode. So if I move over, it's going to start tracking me once, of course, I set up that tracking. Now you guys see there, the tracking is now in. It's going to keep me in a field of view and magnify me inside a field of view area. It's not going to be, like AI tracking 360-degree pan, tilt, and zoom. It's going to keep me inside this area. So when I move around, it's going to adjust with me. It will work with, of course, upper body as well if I need to do that. Now, we do have some image changing that we can do, of course, with this. Auto focusing, auto exposure, white balance, off or on, 60 hertz, 50 hertz, anti-flicker, and all of the other cool stuff. We can turn HDR off. HDR comes off, it's going to look a little bit different with that. I like HDR on. Now, we can go into this more because I can actually put it into, of course, sleep mode. I can change the patterns of the sleep modes, the time, auto sleep. We can even turn off the microphone during that as well on this. Now, mirror image. If I want to swap the image around, so if I actually mirror image, you can now read what it actually says. So now we are now in mirrored image mode, so you can see me properly, which is where we should have been in the first place. Now, indicator status is the lighting on the actual camera, and I can actually adjust that to a brightness if I really want to, or even turn it off. I can actually turn it off and not have to worry about it. I like the indicator status on there. You guys can do firmware updates as well. Now, here's where it gets kind of cool. We have what's called beautification. Now, I'm going to kind of move the beautification over here, guys, so you can kind of see this. When we turn this on, we can actually start adjusting the skin tones. So we can move our skin tones, readjust it to where we feel best fit with it. We can do face, of course, eyes, cheekbones, and everything else in between. We can keep going down to even whitening the teeth. Now, if we really want to, we got super white, which is kind of cool. You guys can readjust all of that. You guys can have it set for man, classic, native, or custom. Custom, of course, is where you're going to actually adjust most of it. Filters. There are filters, of course, natural filters. I can change it. It's going to beautify. It's going to do black and white and all of that in between. If you don't want the filters, of course, guys, you don't have to do the filters. Click no filter at all. We can also do that with retouch and, of course, the other end as well with the bokeh. And that's going to be background blur. So you guys see the background is blurring out for us. If I go full black background blur, you guys aren't seeing much behind me with that. Now, I'm going to turn the background blur off. We're going to come back over here. We're going to turn the beautification off as well. Beautification, you have to, sit there and mess with. Now, here is a better part about this camera. Now, just like the original, guys, you can actually flip this. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to reach up here. Now, I'm going to flip it up on end. You guys are going to see right there, I flipped it up on end, which means I can now go into, TikTok style mode. I can go from landscape to horizontal videography, which is kind of cool. So we can actually start recording in this angle just by switching the camera around. Now, you guys did see me, of course, move the 90-degree angle down here in the software. We are, of course, in 4K resolution. I can change that 4K to 1080p 60. I can even go to 720 if I want. 4K is where I'm going to stay because I prefer it. Landscape mode or portrait mode. We can actually change that just by hitting the software, right? So landscape or portrait, that's up to us. The bit rate, recording in high bit rate MP4s. We can also do audio, where we can actually start adjusting the audio. The audio format is always going to allow us to mess with it, of course, on hand. And you guys can see we're actually recording from the OBSBOT Meet camera right now. You guys are seeing, of course, that movement of this over here in the software. Hopefully you guys can see that. Now, I know with this, you guys are having multiple pictures, multiple cameras, and multiple screens, so keeping that up. We can adjust that back so you guys can kind of see some of this other stuff that's over here. Device management. I do have multiple OBSBOT cameras, so you can do that. Global hotkeys will allow us to adjust what we want to do with the devices, switch around. So if I do Alt-1, it'll switch cameras with that as cool. Now, on-screen displaying or on-screen connections, UDP servers, or we can do host servers, or we can connect up your server points and all that. This is a great camera. If you guys need a camera, the OBSBOT Meet 2 is definitely worth checking out. I want to thank you for watching and hope you guys have a great one.